Okay. P plus R. So you're good, Sue, because each one of your names is a multiple of 3. All right. That's okay, because for those that aren't, God has made provision. If it's not, no number that you can think of is going to be far from 3, because all you have to do is add 1 to it or subtract 2 from it. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, how do you know which one you need to do?
It doesn't matter, because it's like, okay, let's just say 200. If 200 is 1 over a multiple of 3, then I subtract 1 from it, giving me 199. Or I add 2 to it. You see what I'm saying?
Do you know Israel comes to 73?
Israel?
Yeah.
Israel should be 64.
Are you sure?
Yeah, do it again. Israel. That's interesting in itself. Israel is a cube. It's a 3-base cube. 3 times 3 times. Let me see. So let's do this real quick. So, Sue, the name that God gave you at birth, it comes to a mathematical total of 240. So when we put you in the net, I'm going to show you the steps that God has to take in order to transform your character till it fits to 153. And this same process has to happen to every other human being before we are conformed into the image 153, before we can go through the net. So the first number is 240. The first thing I need to do, okay, this is going to yield to, first step is I have to raise each one of your digits. I have to cube it, okay? Now, I didn't understand. I was showing Dave this about 3 weeks ago. I didn't really quite understand what it meant until I did a little bit more reading in the book, the Human Genome book that I have. See, a gene is a sequence. It's a sequence of information. But each gene is expressed in 3 letters. 3 and only 3 letters. And those 3-letter combinations they can be 3 of these 4. C-A-T-G. C. Okay, you have, these are basically guanine, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and uracil. 64, yeah, that's what it is. Remind me later if we have time to show you the significance.
Uracil?
Yeah, U-R-A-C-I-L. So that's just one of the protein bases.
Okay.
Now, uracil is only used in RNA, ribonucleic acid. Interestingly enough, write this down, okay? In Genesis, it says that God took a rib from Adam's side. Now, listen to this. The DNA stays in the center of the cell and it cannot come out, right? So then how does the material outside of the cell know how to form itself to form the proteins and the building blocks? Something has to take the information from the DNA code inside the cell to the outside of the cell. Well, check this out. When God said he caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he took a RIB, or a rib, out of Adam's side. Do you know that in the cell, the DNA molecule makes a transcript of itself. It divides itself in half. It has the exact same informational pattern as the original DNA. But this one is called RNA. It's called RNA because it has a ribonucleic acid. In other words, it's got a ribosome. And the purpose of the RIB, OSOME, is to bring the information from the inside of the cell to the outside of the cell. Now we understand that each one of the cells of our body contains enough information for the whole body, doesn't it? So what God is saying in short, he didn't have to grab a whole rib necessarily out of each side. Remember, he's speaking to a scientific generation that understands what a ribosome is. I believe that the rib that God took out of Adam's side was short for ribosome, because it functions the same way as a ribonucleic acid does. It takes the transcript, it takes a picture of the DNA, comes outside the cell, and says, okay, this is what we got to build, guys. Okay, you adenine, you got to bind to guanine. Okay, cytosine, you've got to bind to uracil. You've got to do this. It tells everything what to bind to. The nucleus, atom can't come out of the center, but the messenger RNA, or messenger ribonucleic acid, comes out. But anyway, 240, what's the first step? So I've got to take each one of these numbers, Sue. Everybody looking? I've got to take each one of these digits of your name, and I've got to turn it into a gene. Okay? Now, a gene has 3 letters. Coding for, let's just say they code for, well, I'll get back to that in a minute. But I have to take each one of these numbers and I have to turn it into a gene. So what I have to do is I have to take that 2 and multiply itself 3 times. I have to make it a cube, because you're no longer a 2-dimensional person. I'm going to say, let's just say that we started out in flatland. We started out like just on paperback. We only have length and width. But God's trying to raise you up another dimension. So 2 cubed plus 4 cubed. Everybody understand what I'll write it out in here. Plus 0 cubed. Okay, 2 cubed is what? 2 times 2 times 2.
6.
Times 2. 4, 2 times 2 is 4, right? I'm not saying 2 plus 2 plus 2. It's 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is equal to what? 4 times 2 equals?
8.
Okay, so then the first one is going to make 8. Okay, now if I take 4, 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. Right, which equals, 4 times 4 times 4. Plus, 0, of course it's going to come to 0. All right, so I'm going to have 8 plus 64. And it's going to equal 72. So on the first stage of your transformation, it's going to generate 72. I've got to take that same number. Let's just say that God starts to work on the major stronghold that you had in your life. And this is the equation that helps you to overcome the major stronghold in your life. Okay. Now, the thing that's interesting is that
Is there a code in the Bible for the 72 and what it is?
there are a whole lot of them, but I could, for instance, I can't go into it right now, but there are a whole lot. Every number is significant. So now we're at 72. So I'm going to take you from 72, and the goal, the target number is 153. Okay. So I have to take 7, 2, which yields to 7 cubed, right? Why are we doing this? Because I've got to take that and I've got to put that in 3 dimensions. This is what has to happen to a gene. I've got to turn you into a gene somehow. Plus 2 cubed, which equals 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7, plus 2 times 2 times 2, which we already know is 8. 7 times 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49 times 7, which gives you 343. And I did that before. That's the only reason why I know that. Okay, so 343 plus 8 gives you 351. Now look at this number 351 carefully. So what do I have to do to this number 351 to get 153? Inverted, right? Inverted. Because it's the same 3 digits, right?
Transpose it.
Yeah, transpose it, invert it, same thing. Yeah. Now, how much time do I have? All right. How many of you have heard of combinations and permutations? I'm not going to bother with that right now. All right. Well, basically, a combination is a group of elements. I have a 3, I have a 5, and a 1. If I reverse this order, I'm going to get 153. But what do I have to do? I have to repeat the same process. I've got to do the same thing. I've got the right elements. Now God has got it to you. Remember in 2 Peter chapter 1, he says, add to your faith virtue. Virtue, kindness, your brotherly kindness, meekness. So now you've got all the ingredients that you need, but they're still out of order. So what God has to do after he gets to 3, 5, 1 in our character, so to speak, now he's got to put our lives in the right order. So watch what's going to happen.